I'm going to talk about the less glamorous side of depression, right? So, you might say there's nothing glamorous about depression, and that's fair enough, but the amount of people self diagnosing and saying, oh, I have depression, because there's a trend of it, when there's a mental illness that catches on, lots of people want to be on the bandwagon. Um, I think we're all guilty of it, if there's one that in particular that's getting diagnosed and it intrigues us. We think to ourselves, oh yeah, I must have that. I think in particular one that really pisses me off is autism, because I don't think people appreciate how difficult it is living day to day, and then that's with an official diagnosis, age 7. So, like, I can tell you it's no picnic, and I don't have superpowers, as people love to keep saying. I think differently, and that can be a good thing. And I've a really good memory. I can remember lots of stuff if I'm interested in the topic. Um, when I talk about depression, it's a symptom of everything, more so than a direct diagnosis itself. It's a result of all the negative shit that's happened that's worn you down. Um, but people tend to go, oh, I was in bed for weeks. Then I just snapped out of it, and then I was better. I just opened up to my friends who said I go to a doctor, got given a few antidepressants, and it went away. Um, the reality of it, if it's clinical depression, that storyline is very different. Like, you might have depression, and it's because of an event. Might be hormones as well. Like, there's perfectly good explanations as to why. As a teenager, your hormones are going all over the fucking shop. Of course, you're gonna feel a bit down. That's reasonable. Um, Unfortunately, though, there's a lot of false hope given, and the reality is that day to day, you feel like a miserable cunt. You just feel like you're dragging everybody down with you. I feel like that a lot. I feel like, oh my god, I'm such a drain on people. Um, like, oh, I don't want to go here. I don't want to go there. Um, Best analogy that I've ever heard for depression is wanting everyone to piss off and leave you alone, and being terrified of dying alone. It's the most contradictory thing that you'll ever experience in your life. I think, because you stay in all day because you haven't got the energy to face the world. You haven't got the wherewithal some days to get out of bed. And that's when it gets really bad, right? Um, you go outside because you know that it'll make you feel better, but your mind is fucking with you. It's playing tricks on you. It's been hijacked essentially, and as soon as you're out, and I experienced this even now. Having gone out, done stuff, and my mind will be like, "Oh, I just want to get home." I can't wait to get home. You're exhausted. Every step feels like you're walking Mount Kilimanjaro, or Mount Everest, or one of them big mountains. Um, you've got to say to yourself, I may feel only slightly better, but it's better than sitting in all day doing fuck all, and I'll sleep better because I'll have done something. If nothing else, you'll sleep better, right? And if you stay in all day, you get cabin fever, but you're also being unhealthy. You're not looking after yourself. And look, if you only muster up, like, a lot of times I can only muster up the strength to go out, and I'll have planned to have gone out before 12 o'clock midday. But sure, I'm only leaving the house at 4, 5 o'clock. That's why a lot of times when you see me posting the sea swims, it'll be when it's dark out, and I could have gone a lot earlier, but I went for a walk with the dog. I always like to do two with them and then come back. Then I delay, I have a cup of coffee because it's like my little reward. I love coffee, and I always will. But I'm only having 2 cups now, which is good. So I'm not highly caffeinated. Because there's something you gotta watch. I definitely did, for sure. But my god, is it hard to actually get out of the house. The amount of times I'll forget to bring stuff with me, that I need because I'm like, fuck it, I'm going now. If I don't leave, I'll never fucking leave. So you just leave impulsively, and you forget to bring half the shit with you that you realise you need. But I'm also kind of like, fuck it, I'm out of the house now, thank God. I'm out in nature. Nature is a saviour. It's the best natural antidepressant there is. I don't care what. I think everyone will agree with me actually on that. I don't think there's anyone that can debate me that's sitting in all day rather than getting yourself out for a walk in nature will help you out. And I mean, geez, I feel, even saying it now, I feel so guilty because I remember how bad I was, how overstimulated I was with autism, and the feelings of guilt and shame are the worst you can ever experience. Um, because I remember being like when I was young, me and my brother, and I just couldn't stay still on a walk with my family, and it was horrible, not being able to appreciate it. I feel very guilty about stuff like that, being being so bad at that stage that we couldn't go for walks in nature and enjoy stuff. I felt like such a burden on everyone, because it was horrible, really. Like the amount of times, like I think, and this is depression 101, but the amount of times I feel like my family would be better off without me is very often. I feel like genuinely like, and this is something that comes over me a lot, that my dad wouldn't have left if it wasn't for me. Genuinely, my autism was too much, and I got depressed because I'm just a bad egg. I just feel like a piece of shit, and that's what depression is. That's what it does to you. You can be autistic, and yeah, there's a lot of challenges that go with that, but depression is the true fucking evil. Then the less glamorous side, like I'm welling up here as I'm saying it. You can probably hear it in my voice, it's extremely painful for me to say that because that's how I feel. I feel like my family were trying, and I let them down by being too weak, and I feel like my brother has all these issues with depression and anxiety because of what I put him through and what I continue to put him through on a daily basis. Because I can just say something, and it can seem innocuous, but it's very hurtful. The way brothers slag each other off, but I'll say something and I'll be like, fuck me, I just can't fucking help myself. I just say the wrong thing all the time, if you tell someone you're bedridden and all this stuff and you say I feel sad, I wanna kill myself, well, naturally, like an empathetic human being will want to help you out. But if you say I just sit there scrolling through channels all day, I can't summon the fucking energy to leave the house, that gets boring. Like I even hear myself saying that, and I'm like, Jesus, pretending like you're doing all right and you're just not. It's exhausting trying to put on a front for people, and that's what I said. Like I just wasn't there doing it over Christmas because I'm like, things are not okay. Things are far from fucking okay, and I wish my family would be able to understand that. But unfortunately, in some ways, but unless you've been through that and been through the same shit, you don't understand what it's like. I've even had a doctor say that to me. You are more of an expert on depression than I am because you actually have it. I can tell you all this shit from a book, but you know more because you go through it. God love you, but you do. Um, and yeah, in fairness to him, like the family doctor, he's a good guy, but he says you're not making this up. Not at all. This is real. Nobody wants to be going through this shit. Nobody. And it's reassuring to hear that because it's like, am I depressed? Do I really have anything wrong with me? Is there anything going on? Anything at all? Like, am I just making this shit up? Am I just a weak human being? That's what it does to you. It makes you think these things. It's actually more evidence of the fucking condition. But no, no. Like, I tried to fucking take my own life. I ended up in jail because I was so traumatized and just in so much pain. Um, just hating looking at myself, like thinking I'm never going to be good enough for anyone. This is a very emotional video. I wasn't even expecting it to be, but man, it's I think it's good for you to see it because it's not an easy thing. It's a fucking hard thing to live with. It drains everything you have. And like, there's certain points where I'm just like, especially now, I don't have the energy to put on a face for you. I don't have the energy to have people over. And you know what the flip side of that is? You isolate yourself. But why would people come over when you're being difficult? When you're not very welcoming, when you're not very pleasant to be around? People aren't going to want to come over, and I don't blame them. That just reinforces all the negative shit that you already believe about yourself. Um, it's a very vicious cycle. It really is. Because on one hand, you go out, on the other, I'm thinking of everything that could go wrong. Everything. That's anxiety now, but and then if you have the EUPD, like the emotionally unstable, aka borderline, the best way I could describe that, I was only thinking of this now last night while I couldn't sleep. Um, Brilliant ideas come to me late at night, by the way. But I remember thinking, being borderline is like sitting in a car at broken traffic lights. Okay? When you're depressed, you get very philosophical, let me tell you. Um, but it's like being like stuck at broken traffic lights. One minute it's green, the next it's red. It keeps flickering in between the two. You're like, is it okay to go? Is it okay to stay? Is it okay to, you know what I mean? Think of it like that. That's why it's called emotionally unstable. There is no certainty. The anxiety that it gives you is horrific. Um, it is, and there's no amber lights to go proceed with caution. It's just flicking back and forth between red and green. The intensity is unbearable. Um, and you like that leads to, of course, it leads to feelings of depression, but you've got nothing good to talk about. You feel yourself dragging yourself around. I feel like I have to create these new topics to talk about, but this is the reality of a lot of times where I just feel dead inside. I just feel like there's nothing there. Um, it's extremely hard. It is, where you just feel worthless to everybody. Every mistake you've ever made, stuff you didn't even think you remembered, pops into that fucking that powerful organ, which is of course the brain. Like, I'll get memories of stuff and I'll deal with that, like I'll come to peace with it and be like, okay, because I've got my radical acceptance, I've got my dialectical behavioural therapy, which teaches me that there are always more than one way of seeing something. Not even just two, there's more than one way to see every situation. And then my compassion focused therapy teaches me that maybe I wasn't in the best headspace. Maybe there was always a reason why you acted a certain way. It might have not been perfect, but nobody is perfect, and therefore no situation is ever perfect. You do the best with what you have, but something will always pop up, and then we get there, we get to the stage where we can deal with it. But I'll be honest with you, like, to be perfectly honest, on New Year's Eve, I went to bed and I was like, another year of suffering. That's how I felt. That's genuine. Like, that's exactly how I felt. I was like, I can't take much more of this. I really can't. I'm at my wit's end here. Like, this is starting to really wear me down. My family are in a bad way, my immediate family. I don't know if I have the strength to keep putting on a front and going out job hunting and like, oh yeah, let's go get it. There's just nothing. There is very little. I am running off fucking steam, smoke, whatever, air. And while I am, I thought I would, or in the midst of it, just wanted to give you an insight into the front that we put on every day. It is very hard. Like, you can probably hear, I'm going to drink some more water. It's a very upsetting topic to talk about. And nobody in their right mind would make this up. Not a chance. Like you could say I'm depressed, and like you're not really. You're going through a tough time, and you get through it. With medication and therapy, which is great. But there is those occasions where it will just keep coming back, and there's a lot more people than you realise that are like that suffer from that, where it just keeps finding a way back. It's a, it's a bastard. And as I say, it's an illness of contradiction where you want everyone to fuck off and not come back, but then you're like, oh, I'm alone, I've no friends, I need people to love me. But you've just kicked them all away, and you're very hard to be around. You're not a positive person to be around, and you're very aware of that. What can I contribute to you? I'll only drag you down with me. That's how I feel a lot of the time. And every day is just going around with this fog over my eyes, like I can't even think straight. I forget stuff, like I can't tell you the amount of times in work where I've made a mistake that I shouldn't have made. A rookie wouldn't have made it. It was a rookie error. And I'm beating myself up thinking, fuck me, how stupid am I? How thick am I not to know that I've been here so long and I don't know that? Reinforces everything, and you're trying. That's the thing. When you go out and you try things and they last for a little bit of time, but then it just creeps back into you. The novelty wears off. It's hard to keep going. It's hard to stick with stuff because it's like when you get arthritis, and the bone is grinding on bone. There's no cartilage left. That's what depression is like. The cartilage is just worn out. If you want to think of a physical analogy, both conditions are extremely painful. One is painful for the mind, the other is painful for the joints because you've got nothing separating the bone from rubbing off each other, and it's excruciating. And the difference is one is mental trauma, one is physical trauma. Yeah, like depression is not glamorous, not at all. And I think people, not everyone, I think there are a lot of people who are genuinely depressed out there. Um, but what works for some people won't work for others, and for some people, unfortunately, they will have to live with it for the rest of their lives. It will be there, creeping, waiting to pounce on any negative thing you do. And I'm sorry, that's just how it is. But on a little bit of hope, I'm still here, and I still find a reason to live every day. Um, just know if you are thinking of doing something, like the final solution, soothe inside. There has to be someone out there for you that loves you and would miss you if you were gone. If not a family member, then a friend. I'm telling you, I'd be upset. Anyone out there like who watches this channel who was feeling like there is no hope, I'd be upset if you were gone, and I mean that genuinely. Someone who feels like they have to take their own life, it's tragic. It's really bad. That's why I'm doing this channel. Ultimately, everything I do is centered around people not coming to that conclusion. So while some of the things I say may seem harsh or very offensive or critical, and I talk about Irish identity and Irish culture, because if without a culture and an identity, how do you build a sense of worth? Who you are. How do you build a sense of identity, pride in who you are? You have to put these foundations in so that you don't feel worthless and shitty. There are steps you can take to feel like a better human, and there are things you can do to improve yourself so that you are more resilient. And that's what I want to help you guys with. I just got a lot more emotional than I thought, but yeah, it's a serious topic, so it's one I wanted to talk about. The day to day with depression. It's a grind. It really fucking is. Um, just trying to put on a brave face, and even I've noticed like Christmas is a good time for noticing how it gets you down, unfortunately, because I used to love going getting people gifts and presents. I used to love the decorating the tree, getting the tree. I used to love doing all that. when the depression gets you and you get older, you know what you're like? You're like, oh fuck, I have to get them a present, I have to get them a present. There's so much to do and there's not enough time in the day to do it. And procrastination is huge. I think, oh fuck it, I don't want to get a tree, you know, and now I have to decorate that tree, you know, and then I have to take it down, you know, I have to spend money on something that we're just going to destroy and it's going to be dead soon. And you see how negative it can be at a time where you're supposed to be happy. Like, you don't look forward to opening gifts, you just think another fucking time to be fake and to pretend like you're happy. But I did have a good Christmas, like genuinely, and I'm grateful that I did. Pleasant, you know. Not a massive big Christmas, but a pleasant one where I watched movies and I had a load of turkey and ham and trifle. Um, Went for a swim. Yeah, I appreciated how pleasant it was. Didn't have to be a rip roaring one. It doesn't have to be rip roaring. Let's take pleasure in the little things. One thing I think with depression that I definitely take, and I think you should do, is learn to appreciate the little things that you've got family members. Like I have my mum and my brother, who I know for a fact would be devastated if I ended my own life. I've got other family members who I know would be devastated. They'd never get over that, you know, and I'm sure if you're listening and you're feeling the same way, you've got people in your life that would be absolutely devastated if you were to end it all. And if you're empathetic like I am, think of those people. Think of how much suffering they would go through. Thinking, what if I could have prevented it? What if I had known? Is it my fault they did it, you know? Did they feel like they couldn't talk to me? Trust me, it is never the right option. It may seem like it, I understand completely. Um, you just feel like you're going to let everybody down. You feel like you're a burden to yourself and your family. You feel pathetic. You feel like you once were able to do all these things and now you can't do any of them. Um, but there are people out there who would be devastated if they lost you. I'd be devastated if someone from this channel, like who follows this channel, felt like they couldn't reach out to me and ended their own life. I genuinely would. Like, I'd be very upset. Um, as I say, I don't have all the answers, but I will help where possible. And I think that's a good spot to leave it on, guys. You're not alone. There are people out there who care. Do take care. Let's have a good 2025. You know, it's early days. I know it's fucking freezing now. Got myself a few swims done for the year already to start it off the right way, and I'm walking with the dog, and I'm getting out in nature. Nothing extravagant, like no mad goals, but keeping it small, but taking over. You know, stay well and do look after that wonderful organ in there that's trying to keep us safe, but sometimes malfunctions. You know, we've got people out there anyway who love us. I'm sure of it. You know, and if not in your family or friend group, talk to me. Put a comment in that, and I'm sure there's not just me, but plenty of others as well. We will be there for you. You know, this is a channel of positivity. I know it might seem a bit negative at times, but we'll be there for you. So you're not alone. Thanks, guys. Slán go fóill.